It was as eye-opening an experience as I'd had in years. In my capacity as a parish priest, I was tasked with conducting a weekly Bible study at the group home funded by the diocese. A few years ago, one of the residents, a 9-year-old boy named Joshua, asked me what I meant by unconditional love. "It's when someone loves you no matter what you do," was my reply. "Does anybody really do that?" young Joshua asked. He'd been in several foster placements and had more than his share of negative experiences. "God does," I answered in my most persuasive voice. When the boy didn't say anything else, I considered the subject closed. The next week, however, he cornered me prior to the start of the Bible study and informed me that he now understood the term unconditional love. "It's Rex," he exclaimed when I asked what he meant. Rex was the mixed breed dog that the bishop had rescued from the local animal shelter 2 years earlier. He'd given the animal to the children for Christmas that year with the hope that, through caring for him, they would learn responsibility. But he could never have foreseen the lesson little Joshua would end up teaching me. When I asked him to elaborate, the lad responded with, "Everyone treats Rex different. Some of the kids play with him, some kick him, some don't pay any attention to him at all. But Rex treats all of us the same. Whenever he sees one of us, he always wags his tail like he's happy we're there. It's like no matter what we do to him, he still loves us, like he forgives us our trespasses." I chuckled briefly at his mispronunciation, then said, "Actually, young man, a dog is not quite what I had in mind." "Why not?" the youngster drilled. Before I had a chance to say anything, he continued with, "I never knew any people who could do that." As I pondered the comment, he added, "How do you know that God didn't make dogs to show people what he meant by unconditional love?" I was stumped, and not because I did not have a clever comeback to the child's inquiry, though admittedly I did not, but because I could not even begin to refute his logic. Thinking back on some of the canine friends I'd had over the years, I began to wonder whether the Almighty had created them for the sole purpose of proving to humankind that, outside of Christ, unconditional love could indeed exist on earth. I was reminded of a theological discussion I'd once overheard. The two individuals were debating whether or not the verse about turning the other cheek was meant to be taken literally or symbolically. Given the unforgiving nature of most human beings, I was inclined to side with the individual arguing in favor of a symbolic interpretation. How often, though, had I seen dogs do just that, turn the other cheek? Even as I entertained this thought, little Joshua brought me out of my reverie with a painfully simplistic observation. Maybe that's why dog spelled backwards is God. It was as profound a statement as I had ever heard in all my years as a priest. As it says in the book of Isaiah, "And a little child shall lead them." This particular child had certainly provided me with some food for thought. And to this day, whenever someone asks me to define unconditional love, my reply is always the same. It's like God and dogs.